talk a lot of shite, so we have to be able to. I love that poster. It was there a minute ago, but that's the great Oscar Hackett. We should give him a shout out for a stunning poster. It sort of echoes.
He's such a great person.
Now this is something that you have very cleverly already road tested out in sunny Naas, and I'm very envious of your of the Naas scene, because it reminds me of the 70s and 80s here, where people just gave themselves over to the joy of rock and roll, the joy of being in a moment, and just that slightly kind of devilish, slightly mischievous, but yet just good-natured. Were you guys kind of taken by surprise how well this idea kind of connected to an audience?
Yeah. Actually, so many people just came out of absolute curiosity.
Right.
You see, the whole vaudeville thing is taking the circus right back. Years ago, we did before light shows and spectacular, aerial events and all these sort of things that these acts did. You had a circus, which was kind of for the wealthy, and vaudeville was for everybody.
Right.
And you could have a drama act, you could have somebody saying poetry, you could have a clown, you could have somebody doing aerial stuff, you could have your freak shows, all that sort of thing. But it was very entertaining, and it was always audience participation back then and stuff like that, so it made it very entertaining.
And you think about 18th century France, and it's evolved. Obviously, I mean, the Germans sort of embraced it between the wars with the Weimar Republic, cabaret, and there's always been that kind of lure of the outsider art. So obviously people like the Rolling Stones and Dylan when he's Rolling Thunder, it's always been that slight kind of sense of you're outside the mainstream and you're just having this kind of, again, that word mischief always comes into mind, because it is a joyful occasion. It is a case of celebrating the weird and the wonderful, and then it's a party. It's a sense of like we're all coming together here under a roof to
celebration of skills. And it's all, and that's the thing.
It's so diverse.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the thing. And it's just this whole mishmash of stuff. You're hoping people are going to enjoy the whole thing, but if there's something they're not really into, they know that in a couple of minutes there's something that they probably are going to enjoy. And it is weird and wonderful, and we can't give too much away, but we do have some really weird and wonderful people there.
Well, we should. I know that the poster will give a hint at least of all the various different freaks and geeks you have lined up, but my favourite, because you don't expect this particular freak or this particular geek to be in such a world, is Biddy from Glenroe, the great Mary McAvoy. I just love seeing her in there. I just think, holy moly, like if we're all thinking, well, we need the guys with the painted faces and people with the snakes and the juggling and the rock and roll bands. There's Mary, who of course a lot of people know is a fantastic actress, and she holds stages all over the world and matchmaker and all this. It's not just like a one note. She has all this sort of colour in her, so it just seemed like a perfect fit, because that's familiar, and yet at the same time, being an actor, she's obviously got imagination.
I have it on very good authority that when she started out in the business, that what she wanted to do was join a rock and roll vaudeville circus. And I'm not going to give her age away, but it took her quite a while to get to where she's going to be next Saturday. So she's thrilled. We're obviously thrilled to have her. But she's going to be marvellous. Well,
I think if you've worked in Kilcool, that's pretty much vaudeville, and that is you are the circus. So I think you're already there in some way. Now your own particular relationship to this. I know that you've always, I'm guessing, like, I don't know, I've spoken to you before, but probably from since your teenage years, certainly, but even before that, this love of rock and roll. Were you kind of aware of, say, the rock and roll circus? Was that the first time you would have been aware of this possibility that, you can bring loads of different people together and have this, rather than just being two bands on stage?
Yeah, that would have been my first exposure to it, the Stones and all of that. And then, as you say, Dylan's Rolling Thunder review.
Which is still going on, I think.
I always thought that. And then more recently, I only came across, as I said, the late Ronnie Lane's Passing Show.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, but he was trying to do the same thing, but again, maybe it was a bit more low-key than those other two events.
Right.
But it is that thing, I approach it from the music side of it, and we do have like some really fine musicians and singer-songwriters on the bill. But again, that's interspersed with these other acts. And I do find, even myself, you can go and see somebody singing and playing guitar and doing all their own songs for an hour and a half or 2 hours. After a while, it does tend to wear you down. Whereas with this, it's like you're getting a smattering of this. Plus, we did say before that, in Dublin, there's this huge cabaret scene, and some of our artists, they're award-winning burlesque and pin-up artists. And there is that cabaret scene maybe in Dublin. But a lot of people they'd like to go to a burlesque show or a drag show,
right?
But they're a little bit
uncertain.
Whereas with this, we're kind of going, well, here's a little taste row now. If it grabs you, well, you know where to go. You know what I mean? So it's that. It's kind of it's covering a lot of bases, really. You know?
And I mean, there is that sort of community of artists generally. No matter what background you're in, whether it's rock and roll or whether it's burlesque and all that, you kind of the connections are great because there is a circus feeling, like you are part of family grouping where you kind of know each other and you might end up in the road together somewhere. You might end up being involved in the same kind of show like this. So I'm guessing when it came to pulling this together, that was probably part of it. You sort of know somebody who knows somebody who's a mad fecker and who'd be just the right fit. And
that's it. Yeah, we looked after the music side of it, and then we had the contact with O'Golly Miss Dolly, and she was our door into that other world of drag and burlesque and freak show. And so you put the two together, and it was a great spirit of camaraderie and Nace that night, and that was such a successful show.
You're getting so many. I think there's about 11 acts, is there?
There's 11 or 12 acts. There's 18 people involved.
For the price of what you'd pay to see one act.
And as you say, if your train isn't coming along, your train will be the next train will be for you. If you're kind of thinking, I can see where this is coming from, but I'll wait for the next train. That's the one I was looking for.
You don't have to wait too long.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, as I say, it's one show with all of these acts. So
as you said, under this one roof, this disparate, diverse thing, and as we all know, diversity is not dangerous.
Boom! There you go.
And but it's such a mix of stuff. But what I need to say is that really then glues it all together is our wonderful MC.
Oh, right.
We have the Filthy
Gorgeous. What a name.
Who is a drag king.
He's amazing.
He is amazing and keeps the whole thing motoring along, between acts. And
I want to finish it. I kind of started with this fact that I'm sort of envious of that Nace scene where I just and possibly is rose tinted in the same way that people get very very kind of romantic about the harbour and bring back the plastic bag. There's always a nostalgia for what you used to have, but I always think of Greystones in the 70s and 80s as wonderfully kind of available weekends for mayhem, and you go out early to make sure you got into the rugby club or into Cabanas. So that seems to be still alive in Nace. There seems to be that sort of, which you hopefully, that's where you're coming from. It's just the sheer joy of people getting together and making contact with the living is important in this day and age.
Yeah, well, making contact with the living, but we do have a dead Elvis.
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, we'll have to
he was not on the last show, so I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. But you're right about the scene in Nace. There is people, they really embraced it.
Absolutely.
And reminded me of way back, and you'll know this, Paul, the stables, because we held that show, we actually did up an outhouse, a stock room belonged to McCormick's Pub, and we transformed it into this venue with red carpet and lighting and all kinds of decorations. And that, it struck me, this is like that, the stables from years ago in Greystones, and but hopefully they'll all come out in Greystones too. It's a great night.
Well, I just know from Nace, I mean, we gig in Nace a lot. I don't think mind people that say, you're doing another show. You're doing another show. Because, as they said themselves, you can go and see so many things, but this, you had to keep your mind open when you went into it. And people kept saying to us, I can't believe that people can do stuff like that. That was the thing. They were going, wow, And Ross had said to me, with technology, I mean, you can go and see dead musicians playing as a hologram on stage now.
Yeah.
And he said, how do you compete? And I said, you don't, Ross. That's the thing. You take it right back. So you forget about technology and trick lighting and all of these sorts of things. You take it right back and allow the fact that the entertainers are good, that the audience has enough intelligence that they can use their imagination to just really open it out for a change, rather than everything being done for them. We don't have to think anymore nowadays. Everything is done for you.
We should let this lad in. Young Sweeney. Oh. There you go. Are you all right? We're probably holding you up there, sorry, with that rain. Sorry about that. How are you?
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
And we did, in putting the show together in Nice, we got the blessing of Robert Fawcett from Fawcett Circus.
Oh. Wow.
And Circus Vegas, who then came to see the show and were hugely encouraging, and without us saying, they obviously get it. You've brought it right back to how it all started,
The Stunning were so supportive.
Steve Wall and the guys. Isn't that great?
They wanted to come, they were out gigging and they put the whole poster up on the
fantastic.
They were like, this is amazing.
Wow.
There was a lot of goodwill around the whole thing.
Now, I suppose the one big question Greystonians will want to know, is there nudity in the show?
No, it's respectful. isn't it?
Jesus!
Well,
lads! What the?
That's where the imagination comes in.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's it.
There is, but it's tasteful. But that's why it's an over 18 show.
Right.
It's definitely not for kids. You know?
Okay.
We were talking. We met Christy and Joe along the way.
Okay.
And,
Christy and Joe now, who they're
Christy Dignam and Joe.
Right.
From,
Yes,
from
of course.
IC,
Right.
And we were telling them about the show and all about the different acts and all the rest of it. I think Christy did make a comment that he might just go for the nudity. Whatever about the rest of it. So there is a little bit, and it is tastefully done, though.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, look forward to this because, as I said, to me now, it's not only an echo of gone back centuries, but then just from that kind of teenage rush of anything's possible and everything's there, and you're not limited in what you want to do or listen to, or it's just a party. And I think
it's
that
a hurdy-gurdy. That's what it is.
There you go, a hurdy-gurdy. Nice.